people, so I decided to go live today instead of making a video, and I mostly did that for one particular reason. I just wanted to see, I know, I wanted to see how many people basically hop on at this time to see my videos. I don't expect many, maybe one or two, maybe none, but I figured I'd do this way, specifically because I had a pretty eventful week, but I wasn't able to record any of it, due to just some of the restrictions on the things that I did. So, yeah, a lot happened. Where do I start? Oh, one thing, there was the restriction on one of them. Okay, so I'll back up. So the one of the things that I did was a mystery murder dinner, basically. I don't know if I could say that on YouTube. I think so. Muck duck. I'll say muck duck. Mystery muck duck dinner. If you guys get the reference, let me know down in the comments. Anyway, it was Great Gatsby themed. I dressed up in a nice suit, and I had a really good time. There was no photos or videos allowed inside because there were some people wearing costumes that they just didn't want getting out. There was a photographer, so if I get those photos, I may get that stuff back. But there was people who were really dressed the part, so as far as I understood, there was no photos or videos inside. Basically, they transformed this entire bar into a like Great Gatsby theme. Everyone was wearing 1920s clothing or the best they managed in the area. There was a whole theme. I actually was a secondary character in the actual dinner, so I had lines more or less, not governed lines per se, but lines that I had to go around and talk to specific people and allow people to eavesdrop on the conversation, essentially, which is really interesting. And at the end, all of us got to try to take a guess at what was actually going on, and who died and why and how. It was a little bit difficult. I think the actual dinner itself was done in a rather loud location, or they had a really good band there for the area. Actually, no, they were just good band. I don't need to qualify it with for the area. They had a good band there, but the problem was the band. It was kind of a small space, so when the band actually started playing, you couldn't hear anything, and the whole point of the dinner was to like eavesdrop on other conversations that were happening, so you could kind of keep track and make up your mind and try to get an idea of what was going on in the background, which is really cool. First of all, out here in Peru, especially in the rural area that I live, it's really cool to go to something like that. Specifically, hey, how's it going, Milton? Because of the area that I live in Peru, it's particularly difficult to put something on like that. So it was really cool to do that because I was around other people and doing something that was very, I don't know, U.S. like the murder, the Muck Duck mystery dinner. Great Gatsby themed, everyone with like suits and stuff. So yeah, it was really cool to kind of be in that space out here because out here there's not really stuff like that. So that was a lot of fun. The actual mystery of it itself was quite difficult, particularly because it was hard to hear, but also I think it was hard to track because there was a lot of things going on. I think stuff like that, the organizers did a really good job at setting it up. There was like specific mocktails that were like time specific. There was food that was time specific. The catering felt like it was time specific from like what you'd see in movies and stuff. It was all really cool. But I think, yeah, the particular like mystery of it all was rather difficult. I think it's hard to set something up like that sometimes just because you have a bunch of people trying to put it together and getting in the mind space of other people. And the guys who set it up did a wonderful job design wise, but as far as like story wise, I think they're still novices to it. Maybe they're not, or maybe they thought higher of the group of people that were coming, or maybe they didn't expect the music to be slowed. I'm not really sure, but it was a bit hard to track. But otherwise, great experience. Out here in Peru, I don't really get a chance to wear a blue suit, and which I had one from a wedding that I went to recently. But I've always loved wearing a suit occasionally. It's a great feeling to put on a suit and tie and all that kind of stuff. So it was really good to kind of do that. But again, no videos or photos allowed as far as I know, besides the photographer. So when I get that stuff, maybe I'll post up a community post of that stuff. So yeah, I couldn't video that, but I think that would have been really cool to kind of video and take you along for that. Maybe, I'm sure they're going to do it again. I'm going to see if I can get express rights next time to actually, hey, how's it going? Thanks for joining. next time I'm gonna see if I can get express rights to actually take those videos, so that I can kind of share like the Peru murder muck duck mystery stuff, on the channel, so I can like make a whole video out of it. But this time I think it was their first time, they're getting into the swing of it, seeing how it was going to work, so I think they wanted to keep things kind of chill and easy going. So yeah, that was a lot of fun. The following day I actually went and played some volleyball. I don't typically bring my camera to that because sometimes the ball can get really out of control. There are some players that I play like intramural volleyball with in the area, which they're good players, but I think we go really hard, and we're not like professional. We're learning on our own. So sometimes a ball will get hit and it just freaking flies, and I don't want to break my camera. But it's been really cool. I've actually been going. I made a video recently about the Royal Inca. That's on like it's like a video on the channel. Just showing the Royal Inca because I know a lot of people that live here in my area in Peru. They don't really get to do the recreational stuff that they're used to in the U.S. So in that spot, they have a really nice pool, like better than any pool I'd ever been into in the U.S. And they had like volleyball courts and all that kind of stuff. So I've actually been putting in time at the Royal Inca to practice volleyball. Yeah, really good to see you too, Bill. Good to see you too. I haven't went live in a while. I've been focusing more on the videos as much as I could through work and other things that I had going on. But I decided to hop on here and just see how it went to see. I normally let my videos go live Sunday, but I've switched to Wednesday, so I want to do a couple live. I wanted to do a live at this time just to see like how many people were here who ended up watching. Pretty decent turnout, honestly, for me never going live. I'm pretty happy to see 12 people watching this. I'm sure if I went live more often, that number would be higher, but 12 is fantastic for never going live. Here's the dog. He actually just got fixed, and his bone just came off, so he's starting to love life a little bit more. I think he had a lot of stress from here in Peru. A lot of people don't really like neuter or spay their dogs, which isn't a huge problem most of the time. I mean, I guess it is a huge problem most of the time because they have an overpopulation of dogs, but for the most part, it doesn't really cause issues. However, every once in a while, a bunch of dogs will go in heat at once. Some years, all of them will go in heat at once, or some years or some months, years, yeah, I guess there's like a span of like months where dog after dog after dog goes into heat. And essentially, as you could probably guess, with a male dog that hasn't been neutered, things can get a bit crazy. So his stress levels were super high and he wasn't eating. But the vets here were telling me that I couldn't actually get him neutered because of like he wasn't old enough. But other vets that I spoke to who worked in the U.S. were saying you should have neutered him immediately. So I basically had to find a European vet who is relocated here that was willing to neuter him early for Peru, I guess. Hey Tyler, good to see you. I'm glad you liked it. Yeah, I'm trying to do a little bit more stuff. The point of this live this time is I wanted to first of all check and see like what kind of engagement was on at the normal time that I've switched to, which is posting on Wednesdays. But also I did some stuff this week that I wasn't able to bring my computer to, so I was kind of making the video this way for this week just to kind of talk through that, and also using it as an opportunity to in real time gauge like what's going on. Looking to do ayahuasca trip soon. Can you hook a brother up? Yeah, there's definitely ayahuasca going on. Where are you going? What trip are you kind of thinking? Like I know you're probably thinking Peru, but are you thinking like jungle? Are you thinking like mountains? Like what kind of terrain are you thinking? What kind of tribe are you wanting to sit with? Because I can definitely start I can put out some contacts that I have in different areas, but if you come to the Sacred Valley, which is where I am, there's usually people serving ayahuasca all year round, and not very expensive either. But they're not going to be like Shipibo, Cusco. Okay. Cusco. Yeah, I think if you go to Cusco, what you're going to want to do is probably make your way to Pisac. In Pisac, there's a pretty large like a lot of people pass through that serve ayahuasca there. So that would be the best place that I can think of for you to head to get get some ayahuasca. As far as names go, I would have to figure out who's passing through, but people pass through pretty regularly. Cusco is not great for two reasons. First reason you don't want to sit in Cusco is because there's not a lot of indigenous servers there. They exist, but there's not a lot. And the second one kind of is the reason why there's not a lot of indigenous servers there. A lot of people will come through Cusco for tourism, and as they're coming through Cusco, they get altitude sickness, and essentially what that leads to is ayahuasca trips and experiences and journeys that are extremely difficult due to the altitude. Honestly, if you wanted to drink ayahuasca here at all, I'd recommend either coming down to the Sacred Valley immediately and getting your hands on some oxygen, or spending a week beforehand before you sit. Now, when Dan and I run retreats here, we don't make people do that because it's not completely necessary if you're at a really low altitude point in the Sacred Valley, but Cusco altitude is rough. It's enough to give you full blown altitude sickness symptoms. It's rough up there sometimes. Yeah, we would love to meet you too if you come through here. Just let us know generally when you're gonna be here. I think we're gonna be leaving Peru in November, potentially, not forever, but just to go to New York. There's some stuff we have to tend to in New York, and so we're considering heading off to New York right now, and it's looking more than likely that we're going to be out of here during November. And then we're also planning a couple trips for next year. I really, 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 really want to go to Japan. So I also want to go back to Ireland. So those are like the places that are on my list right now. As far as dogs, in my particular area, it's actually the reason why I've maintained here for so long. There's not a lot of dogs. We have a neighbor 2 houses down has a dog named Toby. We have the neighbors next door who have 2 dogs that are behind a fence that don't get out. I mean, they come into my yard too, kind of more or less frequently, because there's one of them that's kind of an escape artist and is like pushing its way through the fence. But for the most part, yeah, it's those 2, and they're captive dogs, I guess is the best way. Owned dogs, I don't know the best way to refer, but and then we've got Luna, who's also an owned dog, but is much more free range. And outside of that, we don't really have many dogs in my particular area, but yes, there are a lot of dogs everywhere. It's actually an issue that it's so much so an issue here that vets come through and they offer the anyone who brings a dog, and you don't need the dog certificate. Anyone who brings a dog, if you give them 4 or 5 sole, something like that, they'll neuter or spay the dog on the spot, and give them like dissolving stitches and everything, and set them back on their way, so that locals can cut down on the over reproduction of dogs, because it's not super often that you see it, but you do sometimes see dogs that are like starving. Around here, not so much, because I think there's a lot of people who are like more wanting to help the animals. So even though they're not really doing the dog justice in the long run, they're kind of seeing a starving dog and feeding it. But I guess if it was going to die from starvation, they are doing it help in the long run. It's a really tricky issue here. But in places that are much more local, like tourists don't even pass through, you'll often see very, very, very skinny dogs, malnutrition, because if it's not their dog, they don't care. They're like pests here, dogs. Asungate. Honestly, I haven't been. I've heard really good things about Asungate, but I haven't been. Yes, we did get it. I mean, more or less. We have a new place, but if you've been following me for a bit, we moved a year and a half ago, and we've been here since. But I'm in the backyard right now with the wall and some of the backyard kind of foliage and stuff. But same place if you've been following me along. House was, yeah, that was like a year and a half ago. Really liked that house. Honestly, cheaper than this one, bigger than this one. We just had a noise issue that we couldn't get past, because that house was very local, and we had like 20 dogs that were living in our front yard. We weren't feeding them or anything like that. We weren't even giving them attention, but we had like 20 dogs that would come through in like a pack and roam through, try to get at any trash that they could, and basically they'd all pick a yard and sleep in it. And if anything happened, there was just 20 dogs barking at night. Not the most fun, as you can imagine. So that's really the main reason why we moved. Um, yeah, yeah. But I've heard great things about Asungate. Another really good one is Kinsacocha, which is a lake that is you can one of them you can swim in. It's Kinsacocha, Pumacocha, and Huayracocha? I forget. All those are like Quechua words for different names for lakes. Basically, Cocha means lake. I'm like 90% sure. Anyway, um, so yeah. Anyway, yeah, that's basically what's going on with that. I would say Asungate is definitely worth visiting if you can get to those. Pumahuanca is really, really good. Honestly, my favorite place that I visited in Peru thus far is Pumahuanca. Um, honestly, it's so far away from me, but I should take a video there. I go there semi-regularly. I'd say like once or twice a year. I end up over there, usually by accident, but I'll get close enough to it that I'm like, I can't not go there, if that makes sense. Um, Pumahuanca is absolutely breathtaking. It's this hike that leads to, it's got like this, it's not necessarily a waterfall, it's more rapids almost, running down the side with like these beautiful like green spaces that almost look like fairies live in there. Like something you'd see in like, a fairy kind of like TV show or be described in a book. Instagram would be the best way to contact me. Honestly, if you could contact either my Instagram or the Discovering Kaya, the retreat Instagram, that's going to be the best way to get in contact with me. I'm not the best at checking my messages. It's not something I've ever been that great with. But with the Discovering Kaya one, we've got double eyes on that one. So that's the best way to get in contact with me for sure. Seems like a lot of nomads go to Peru from what I've seen online. Yeah, there's definitely been an increase, so much so that the Peruvian government has started cracking down on the people that they're willing to give residency and visas to. I think the exchange rate is really good. It's close to the US, and there's really clean food, like basically organic. Many of them don't use pesticides or anything like that. The reason why I say basically organic is because most farms here are on a mountainside, and a lot of times someone along the mountain will be using pesticides on their crops, and all of the water is trickle down. They've got these not advanced, but intricate, I guess, waterways and aqueducts that run down the side of the mountain that basically control the flow of certain rivers so that they can all water their crops. And they pass through farm after farm after farm, which is good on one hand because it's bringing the soil's nutrients as it's passing through down further and further, but it's also bringing the pesticides and all that kind of stuff down further and further as well. So anyway, but basically organic, clean food, cheap living costs, very easygoing. Pretty much if you're a traveling like digital nomad, there's really no place I think you'd rather be except for, if you wanted to spend the money to go over to Asia. There's some really good spots in Asia as well. Yeah, lots of good stuff there. Have you been to other places besides Peru and South America? Yeah, I've been to Colombia. I didn't give Colombia a full good shot. I feel like I probably should have given it more of a shot. I just went to Bogota, and I'm not a fan. So I feel like I should go back and need to go back, but I haven't really wanted to, and I don't really want to spend the money. My next South America spot that I have on my list is Argentina. It's somewhere that I've always wanted to go. Actually, somewhere I've always wanted to go more than Peru. This is just where I ended up, and I've actually never made it there. So that one's really high on my list. I want to see I think the name basically translates to Sea of Fire. It's like the way the light hits the ocean with all the ice and icebergs in it, it looks like a sea of fire. So yeah, that's really where I want to visit next in South America. Me and my partner are talking about purchasing a car here. Um, so when we do that, I think we want to try to do some road trippy type stuff because you can see the mountains and there's some places that you can really get into them, but I feel like the only way you get a real good experience of them is to drive them. So we want to get a car and like really do it that way. Um, Instead of just flying over them anytime we want to go anywhere. I'm sure that'll get old real quick though. It can be, I mean, it's 18 hours from here to the closest I don't want to say closest big city. It's 18 hours from here to Lima. And that's if you're driving fast and run into zero issues. And it's like an hour and 20-minute plane ride. So most of that is just zigzagging in and out of mountains and stuff. So yeah, it's really the plan. But yeah, I wanted to say thank you guys to all of you that are watching. This is going to be the video that I'm uploading this week. Yeah, I think I'm going to hop off for now. You could tour with a car, huh? Yeah, I think that's the play is rent a car or, you know, something like that. There's actually an issue here before I go. I know I was kind of winding that way. There's an issue here that there's a lot of tourism here in my particular area, which I guess the Sacred Valley in general. But what's happening is a lot of people from Lima who are descendants of Spaniards, which isn't necessarily the issue, but the reason why the fact that they're descendants of Spaniards matters is because they have a bit more money generally than the local people here, than the Inca descendants here. So basically they have there's a lot of people from Lima that are like buying cars for them, but like basically giving them the car, but also giving them a payment they have to make and taking it out of their check. Hola, hello, Sebastian. Giving them like, there's like some companies that are like Spanish and Lima based that are giving them cars that they have to like manage and take care of, and which is nice because they're providing a method of income, but it's also they're basically organizing tours for the people here, and they're giving them cars that they have to basically make the payments on and stuff, which can be really which can be devastating sometimes for them. It's kind of this weird kind of give and take because they're providing income, but also taking income. And it's not everyone from Lima. It's like small corporations that are big into, there's small corporations that are, yeah, there are big corporations that are basically taking most of the money and stuff like that. So yeah, that's, I guess, the issue with that. But getting a car opens up a lot here. And a lot of people who end up getting cars end up being taxi drivers here. I'm not going to do that, but some of the people who move here and start making, yeah, I think I can do this. Hide user on this channel. I think we got there. Boom. Took care of it. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. So, but what I was saying is a lot of people who end up moving here as like nomads that don't have digital jobs will come here, get a car and become like taxi drivers, go up to Cusco. They make pretty decent money if you consider the rent, the cost of gas and everything like that. Just to give you an example, anytime that I want to go to Cusco, if I really don't feel like bartering with them and I just take the price they give me, it's almost always 100 soles. The house that I had in Urubamba was 800 soles a month. I was spending about 400 soles a month on food. And yes, I had other bills because I come from the US, including but not limited to, phone bill, student loan payment, stuff like that, like stuff that I had to pay. But if you had none of that stuff and you just came here, you would basically have to make an hour drive. And people in Cusco usually want to come back too. So you get 100 soles there and 100 soles back. Maybe you spend, it's 45 minutes. I think it's like, I don't know kilometers too well, and I haven't ever looked. I want to say it's like maybe 50 kilometers, maybe. I'm not 100% sure, but anyway, point is it's not very far. So you go up and back, make 200 soles. Maybe you spend, I think, 20 soles, maybe 40 soles, which is 2 gallons of gas. You spend 40 soles going up and down. You make 160 on 2 hours of work. You do that 5 days a week. You've got your rent covered, your food covered, extra money for doing, fun stuff. You're not going to be living large, but you'll be able to make car payments, pay your rent, get food. It's not a bad kind of gig, and that's what people have been doing. Colombia, I hear, is nice though. I've heard that too. I just went to Bogota and had a really bad experience with it. I didn't like it. I found the people quite rude. I speak Spanish pretty well, and I felt very, I don't know. I've been to New York, and I've lived in New York City, and I'm used to that city like get out of my way type stuff. But I don't know, it felt different. I didn't really like it. Yeah, I do rent my house. I'm not really interested in buying a house here. I think at one point I was talking about buying land. The actual government itself, they make it easy enough for people to buy land here as long as you're not near the border of Peru. But they make it extremely difficult for you to, yeah, they make it extremely difficult for you to sell it, from what I've been hearing. So I'm not really at this time looking to purchase any land unless it's extremely cheap. Um, Here, some of the land is as expensive as some land in the outskirts of New York City. You're looking at like $150, $200 per square meter. Maybe it's a bit more expensive there, but yeah, if you want a real actual plot of land that you can build on, you're looking at least $100,000. And that's no connection. That's nothing. That's just rocks and dirt. That's all you're getting for $100,000. So, yeah. Anyway, that being said, this was fun getting on live. I'll probably do it again soon. I think I got a pretty good idea. I think I'm going to keep posting it Wednesday at 5 because the time seems good. Based on the people who popped through. I know I probably got some people who are scrolling through shorts, but yeah, I'll probably keep the same time. I'm probably gonna hop off and get some other stuff done for work, but this will be the video for this week. Last questions here. You ever come West Coast US? I've been there once. Felt okay about it. I wasn't blown away. I went to Seattle though. So I've always wanted to go to the Redwoods and the Olympic Peninsula. I've been to San Diego as well. I spent actually a day there. San Diego I liked. I got some really good food. It felt very, I don't know, you had like people that were like living on the street, and then you had people that were like extremely rich, which I guess is the same as New York. But it seemed worse there for some reason. I'm not really sure why. I don't know if they just managed people being homeless in New York better or what, but I just remember seeing a lot more homeless people than I was used to, and like a bigger wealth kind of disparity, which was a bit uncomfortable. But other than that, I don't really have anything bad to say about San Diego. It was nice. I should go back out there. I just don't think I've ever had a reason or need. Yeah, maybe I just walked down a random area. I don't know if you share similar thoughts as I do. That was like years ago though. That was like, let's say like 2015, 2016, something like that, like pre-COVID. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe where I was walking wasn't great. Maybe, who knows? Who knows why I felt that way, but it felt like the wealth disparity was larger there. But yeah, I had no issues. I would definitely go back to San Diego. It's just when going that far out of my way, because most of the stuff I do is in the East Coast, I need like a reason to go out of my way to the West Coast. I'm sure I could probably make them though, if I wanted to like try to get in contact with people over there, kind of try to create maybe a retreat or some sort of event where I can go that way. Usually my goal when traveling is I try to get enough money out of the trip from traveling to at least pay for the trip. I don't usually like to go negative on traveling. It's just a quirk that I have. So I'll try to organize an event, or I'll try to, I don't know, something, bring stuff that is not usually attainable to a new area, something that I can offset the cost. I don't usually like to go negative, or I'll come back with some sort of knowledge that I wasn't going to have that will be profitable for me when I go back. A good example is the first time I went to Spain. I went there with the intention to learn Spanish, and honestly, learning Spanish has paid me back dividends far more than the cost of actually going to Spain and paying for the learning. But anyway, yeah, that's it for today, guys. I do have to go. I have some work I have to get back to. But yeah, it was a pleasure talking. I will most likely be doing a live again soon. But otherwise, I will be maintaining the Wednesday at 5 posting videos because I just feel like it flows super well. Thank you guys so much for showing up, popping in, and I will see you guys soon.